Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the Coachable podcast. I am your host, Tori Gordon. If you're new here, welcome. I'm excited to spend a little bit of time with you today. And if you are a returning listener or viewer on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast, I'm glad that you're back. I am here to just give you a little bit of my heart today to share about something that I think we all need to hear from time to time. I don't have a guest. It's just an opportunity for me to share about, this idea that I believe can truly change your life if you allow yourself to internalize what I share here. Earlier today, I was sitting in my daily kind of spiritual practice, if you will. And when I say spiritual practice, what I really mean is a presence practice. I have over the years curated and created space for myself to be with myself, to meet myself in the moment and to be present with what is and what I'm feeling and what I'm experiencing and tune into how I'm really doing and what I'm feeling. And I do that in many ways, from meditation to silence, to journaling, to breathing. Breathwork is one of my favorite ways to, consciously move energy when I'm feeling a little overwhelmed or lethargic or overstimulated. I use my breath to help me become present. And today I was sitting with rapé. For those who don't know, rapé is it's a non-psychoactive plant medicine that I use as a part of my practice. It's a ground up Amazonian indigenous tobacco snuff. For those that don't know, it's kind of a powder that has other ground medicinal herbs, and I use that as a way to help me ground myself. The medicine is really powerful. Like I said, it's non-psychoactive. It's completely legal, and I use it before I meditate sometimes as a way to help me get out of that overcritical, overanalyzing monkey mind that runs the show so often. And what this does is it allows me to drop into my heart and into my body. Really quickly after administering it. And if you go to my Instagram, either on Revive Las Vegas or I think on my personal page, if you don't follow me, I'm the Tori Gordon on Instagram. I have a tutorial of me going through my practice and how I use this and the ritual that I use. But I've never really talked about it on the podcast before. And I don't know, I didn't even expect to do it today. But today I was sitting with rapé and I dropped out of my head. And I took that beautiful, elevator ride as how I kind of talk about it. It's like this elevator ride out of my head and into my heart and into my body. After administering it, it's like this spiritual snow globe sort of that I imagine gets shaken up. So when I blow it up my nose, because it's administered through the nose, it's like all of the snow gets shaken up, all of the thoughts, all of the energy gets stirred up, and then it settles, it slowly settles into the ground or to the ground, and where I settle into my body and into the present moment. And I'm just so open and so aware of my body, of my heartbeat, of my breath, because all I can focus on is just being right here. And I did that today with the intention of really trying to feel into and sense, what do people need to hear today? What is the message I'm meant to share? And I was asking God, what is that? What is the message? And I really believe, and take my role here as this host of the show, really seriously. And I understand that I'm a mouthpiece and I'm an instrument for good and for love. And, the stories that I tell, the messages that I share can truly impact the people that listen if they take it in and they receive it, if it rings true for you. And I always encourage you guys, like, if there's something that I share that doesn't resonate, like, leave it. But if it does, receive it. Let it really settle into your heart. And it's like a seed that gets planted. Something I might say today is something you might have heard a million times, but today might be the day that seed blooms or blossoms or takes root, and as I was sitting there really feeling my own energy and feeling how grateful I am to be alive and to be at this point I am in my life and to be where I am, because this is just where I am. I can't be anywhere else other than here. So just really embracing it for what it is. What came to me in that moment is I imagine when I do these practices, whether I'm meditating or praying or really when I'm clearing my mind and just listening, not asking for anything, just listening. I did set an intention, like I said, to hear and to feel into what I needed to share today. But then I just listened and I felt, and the message that came to me is one of worthiness. What I felt was the pain of so many people that are living without the awareness or without the belief that you're worthy of good things. You're worthy of love. You're worthy of being accepted and belonging. You're worthy of creating your wildest dreams. You're worthy of doing the thing that your heart longs to do, but is scared to death to do. You're worthy of having a relationship and a love that is reciprocal. You're worthy of having people show up and give the way you give. And how often we don't allow ourselves to experience good, experience joy, experience love because we don't think we deserve it. For whatever reason, maybe in our early childhood experiences, we've been conditioned to believe that we're only worthy if we perform. We're only worthy if we're perfect. We're only worthy if we do what we're told. I was talking to a client recently and we were discussing this, and she was talking about how she extends all of this love and grace and compassion to everyone in her world, everyone around her. If anyone needs anything, she's the first to give it. But she withholds all of that from herself. She grew up in a really rigid, strict environment where, she only received good things and deserved good things if she acted the way her parents wanted her to act. And now how she treats herself in that way, that she only deserves to, she was saying, I only deserve to have a brownie if I run 5 days this week. I only deserve to enjoy this thing if I, get, X, Y, and Z done or accomplished. And how many of us hold ourselves to that standard of perfection or needing to be a certain way before we deserve good things? And I want you to think about that. When people come to work with me one-on-one, I work with only a few people at a time because we do really deep transformational work. And typically that's a 6-month container because we don't build a relationship of trust with ourselves overnight. And we certainly, and there's a relationship of trust that has to be established between me and my client as well, so that we can really peel away what's in the way of them creating and having the life that they deserve. But one of the places we start, and I'm just going to give you a little free coaching here, is looking at our identity of who I am, who am I, that question, but also what do I deserve? Because like I said, if you grew up in a home where you only deserve to go, to the party if you get straight A's, you only deserve to play on the football team if you do X, Y, and Z. You're only allowed to have dessert or have a treat or have a day off if you've performed in this certain way. You know, you can only go to the school dance if you've cleaned your room to perfection and done all your chores, right? We get conditioned as a little one to start to think that everything is conditional, that love is conditional, and that our worth is based on what we do, not who we are. And how believing that sends us into adulthood thinking that we have to be a certain way. We have to do certain things in order to garner acceptance, to garner love. Even not just from other people, from ourselves, and how we withhold love. We withhold grace. We withhold compassion from ourselves, yet we extend it to everyone else. For some reason, so many people, and you might be one of them as you listen right now, you are someone who allows everyone else to be human, but not you. You're not allowed to make a mistake. You're not allowed to fail. You're not allowed to mess up. And if you do, you punish yourself. Isn't it interesting how as adults, we parent ourselves the way we were parented? Think about how you were parented. Were your parents present? Or were they absent? Were they emotionally neglectful because they were busy or stressed or unavailable or had a bunch of other kids running around so they couldn't give you their full attention? Were your parents or your caregivers or your environment, was it abusive? And notice, do you abuse yourself in the way that you neglect yourself, or that you withhold love from yourself, or you put yourself in situations that aren't good for you, that you talk down to yourself, you speak to yourself in such a derogatory way, and you tell yourself that you're not worth shit, and that you're never going to be good enough, and no one's ever going to love you, and you're always going to struggle. You know, tap into that inner voice. Whose voice does it sound like? Does it sound like your mom? Sound like your dad? Sound like a coach or a teacher? Because I promise you, until we learn to become the parent or the person that we needed when we were a child, we will inevitably become the one that we had. Oftentimes, it's really challenging to become aware of this, because so many of us are like, I'll never be like my mom. I'll never treat myself or anybody the way my dad did, or this or that. But yet, how do we unconsciously do those things to ourselves? Maybe we neglect ourselves. We're not present with ourselves. We're completely distracted. We don't give ourselves space to feel our emotions, to process our emotions, because that's not what our parents did. And so we've become the abuser. We've become the parent that neglects. We become the parent who's unavailable. We become the person who then doesn't create space for ourselves to feel, to heal, to be imperfect, to make mistakes, to learn, to grow. Because we're taught, many of us, that we're only lovable if. The message I feel like so many people need to hear is that you're not worthy of good things. You're not worthy of safety, of love, acceptance, of being seen, of being heard because of what you do. You're worthy because of who you are. You're worthy because you exist. Because your worth is inherent. It's because you come from the same source that I come from. That all of us come and originate from the same source. So why do we think certain people are worthy, but we're not? If you came from the same source that I did, and we're all created by the same energy, you call that God, you call that universe, whatever you want to call it, why are some people worthy of your compassion, worthy of your love, but you aren't? And notice how you withhold from yourself. Notice how you judge yourself. Notice how you punish yourself. And therefore you perpetuate the very thing that you want to be free from. You know, a lot of times I think that we project our trauma and our pain and our childhoods and the people that have hurt us, abused us, neglected us on to God or the universe or whatever, again, you want to think of that as. And so often when things aren't going our way, we're like, God, why have you neglected me? Where are you? And I don't think it's that God has abandoned us. I think it's that we have abandoned ourselves. And the way forward and the way to the love and connection that we crave is by remembering that you are the love of your life. It's not out there. It's not in the perfection of your circumstance or being, getting some accolade, or when I'm this, then I'll have, the life or the connection or the love that I crave. It's about recognizing that you are it. You are what you're looking for, but you have to start becoming and being that version. You have to start treating yourself like the love of your life. If you believed that, so many of us are so fixated on finding the love of our life, finding the divine union, the perfect partner, the perfect person that's going to complete us. And if you started to imagine that you are it, you are the love that you are looking for, and you started to treat yourself like you would treat the ideal perfect partner, how would your life change? If you started to give yourself what you needed, so often in our relationships, if our partner or somebody that we care for, that we love is going through, what do? We bend over backwards to help them. Oftentimes we would, give what we can. We would give our time. We would give our energy. We would give our attention. We would give our love. What is love? It's presence. I think there's no greater gift you can give somebody than the power of your full attention. And how often do you give yourself that? And that is why my practices matter to me. That's why my spiritual practices matter to me. My silence, my stillness, my rapé, my prayer, because it's me giving myself my full attention, because I know I am worthy of my own love. I have come to that conclusion that I'm not worthy because I do enough, or I've achieved something. I'm just worthy because I deserve good things. And so are you. But as long as you think that you're not, you will withhold good from yourself. You will continue to attract people who can't, meet you, or give in the ways that you give. You will be in one-sided, lopsided, unreciprocal relationships in your career, in your finances, in your relationship with social media, in your relationship with other people, until you start stepping into that main character energy and realizing that you are the thing that you're looking for. And you start to turn all of that focus that you put on everybody else, and you turn that towards yourself, and you start creating a relationship with yourself. So many people I work with, so many people I know, they don't know themselves. And do you know why they're so fixated on what everybody thinks of them? Because the opinions of other people become really important if you don't know who you are. You look to everyone else to tell you who you are. My invitation for you today is to look within. That is when everything changed for me. The number one biggest spiritual aha moment of my life, and the thing that clicked into place. This is the puzzle piece that made things start to come together for me, is when I stopped looking outside of myself for answers. I stopped looking outside of myself to other people to give me the love I craved, and I started to go within. And I know, like I said, this might be something you've heard a million times, but I hope that you let this land for you, because you're so fixated sometimes on everybody else. I wrote this down. Like sometimes like we're focused on what everyone else is doing and comparing our lives and our success to what other people are doing. We're looking online. What are they wearing? What are they doing? How are they creating their content? Should I do it like that? Versus looking within, like, what do I want? How do I want to show up? What wants to be expressed through me? Like, stay in your lane. That's what that means. Stay in your lane means look within. Focus on yourself. And you can notice when somebody is so focused on everybody else. They're into the drama. They're talking about people. They're gossiping. They're looking at everybody else, comparing their lives. But the problem is not what everyone else is doing. It's that you're more focused on them than you are with yourself. You have more of a relationship with other people and their lives than you do with your own. Things will change when you start to create space to get to know yourself, to get to know what you like and dislike and what lights you up and what gives you energy and what you're passionate about. But you will not begin that journey of self-discovery and self-remembrance and ultimately the spiritual path if you don't believe you're worthy of something good, something better than you have right now. You know, when I was first starting this podcast, 5 years ago, I was looking at everybody else. You know, and sometimes this is good, right? Like I was inspired by other people. I admired other people. I was listening to shows like this and I looked up to the women and the people that like had podcasts and I was like, wow, if only I could do that one day. You know, I would love to do that. And I started to ask the question, well, if they can do it, why can't I? They're just showing me proof that it's possible. And so I started to look within myself. I started to believe in myself that I was capable, that I was worthy of doing the thing I wanted to do, of having the thing I wanted to have. But I had to believe in myself. You know, this is simple, you guys. I know it's simple, but it's clearly not easy. Because if it was easy, maybe more people would do it. But I promise you the life that you want to live, the love that you want to have, it starts with you believing it's possible, that you deserve it, and that you're worthy of it right now, just as you are. And sure, you're going to have to work for things. You're going to have to put in effort. You're going to have to try. You're going to have to give a damn. You're going to have to care enough to get up and do something and do it again and do it again. But I care about myself enough in my internal world, that internal environment that I have to live in every day that I can never escape. I care about creating that and making that a place that I actually want to be, not a place that I want to escape and run from and avoid, which is what most people do their entire lives. They run from themselves. They numb themselves. They distract themselves from having to look inward because God forbid there are things that are painful that we'll have to address. But that is the journey. That is the spiritual path. There's a quote that I'll share, it's one of my favorite quotes. I recently heard this and I'm probably going to butcher the guy's name. So I apologize. I'm sure he's not listening to the show, but you never know. But it's about the spiritual path and the spiritual journey, which is the journey inward into the soul, the journey back to yourself, to the God within, the divine within, the part of you that is connected to all things and all that is. And the quote is, "The search for reality is the most dangerous of all undertakings, for it destroys the world in which you live." By Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. Because I think people think the spiritual path oftentimes is all love and light and like rainbows and butterflies, when in reality, the spiritual path is death and rebirth and purification and looking at all of the things that you would rather run away from. It is facing the pain that you have so miraculously and diligently tried to numb. It makes you and requires you to face those uncomfortable truths, because in order to arrive at truth, you have to let go of everything that's false. And that can be uncomfortable, but that is the spiritual path back to yourself, your highest self, capital S self. And that is the work of transformation, of change. If we want to have better lives, have better relationships, have better health, have a more beautiful world to live in, we have to face those realities and come to terms with the truth. And the truth is only found by letting go of what is not true, what is false. And those are the lies that we have believed, the lie that you are not enough, the lie that you are unworthy. It is a lie. The more you hold on to that, the more disconnected you are from that truth, the truth of who you are. When we finally stop to look at the lies we've been conditioned to believe, it often shatters our current paradigms. And we are ushered into a new way of being and seeing the world. I wrote this the other day. When we've been stuck in darkness for so long, the light can feel blinding. But as we reorient to our new world in time, we are able to see our worth and our value clearly. This is the path we all must walk if we desire a more beautiful world. It's not rainbows and butterflies. I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to be easy. I've been through a lot, but facing myself has been the most confronting thing I've ever done. And I continue to confront the parts of me that are still stuck in darkness and shadows and lies in my spiritual practice. And my spiritual practice is not separate from the rest of my life. It is my life. It's not in a corner where it's like, oh, this is where I meditate and this is where I'm spiritual. No, this is my life. I'm a spiritual being. It's not separate from the rest of my life. This is a way of seeing and being in the world. And yes, it's confronting. And you could call that scary because yes, it will disrupt and reorient your life. And it will require you to let go things that are false. And therefore, it might require you to let go of relationships that are false, that aren't in alignment with your truth and who you are. But I promise you, it is the way forward. Back to yourself, back to a world and an environment within your own heart and within your own being that you actually want to live in. And now when I sit with myself, I can feel whatever it is that's coming up. And I don't label it or judge it as right or wrong or good or bad or making me worthy or not. It's just part of my story. It's part of who I am. And I get to love that. That this part of me, even the most shameful or dirty or weird part that I think, makes me unqualified for love, I get to love that too, because all of me is welcome. And I haven't gotten to this place overnight. So I just want to say that this is a process. This is a journey. And this is the type of path that I help and assist and guide people on as they walk it for themselves in my one-on-one coaching. And so I'm really calling in people who are really courageous and brave to want to explore their inner world. You can work with psychedelics all day and go to outer space. And I'm not trying to take you there. I'm trying to take you to inner space. And because I really believe you have the answers and you have the antidote and you are the medicine that you need. But it requires you to have faith and to have courage and to trust and to step into the unknown and to do things you might not have ever done before so that you can get a result and create a life that you've never had before. So if that is you and you're listening to this and you know and you can feel in your heart and in your body that that is the path you're being called to walk, I invite you to reach out and to apply for coaching. I have 3 spots available right now for private mentorship and coaching. And this is a 6-month container. It is a high touch, high impact container where we're going to do this work and we're going to face ourselves and we're going to learn to embrace ourselves and create an environment and a world within that we don't want to escape, but we want to be. And that is an investment of your time and of your energy and of your money, because you are worthy of being the person you know you are capable of being and having the life you know you're capable of having, because it actually exists, but you have to give that to yourself. And so if that's you, reach out to our team, send us an email, hello@torigordon.com, get in touch with us, and I will send you an application to apply for one of those 3 spots of coaching. So we can work together in the last half of this year. And so that you can move into 2025 feeling more powerful, more grounded, and more confident than ever. That's all I have for you this week. If you enjoyed the show, thank you for being here. But I would ask you to do me a favor. The best way you can say thanks is to apply something that you learned. Actually, you don't need more information. You need to oftentimes apply what you already know. So use it to your advantage, but also share this with somebody who you think would benefit, who you think needs to hear this. And if you want to go the extra mile and really say thank you, the best way to do that is to leave a rating and a review on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as we're continuing to try and grow our audience there, and share it with a friend. Tag us on social media and follow us there. I am the Tori Gordon. And also you can follow the Coachable podcast as well as everything I'm doing with Revive Las Vegas. Those are all the places that you can follow me and learn about my in-person events, my breath work, our community events here in Las Vegas, as well as how you can work with me one-on-one virtually wherever you are in the world. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you next week on the Coachable Podcast.